If you are an intermediate skier and you're headed to Telluride, Colorado to experience our fantastic ski resort for the first time, then this video is for you. I'm going to give you the know where to go before your plane even touches the ground. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, this video is going to cover the Telluride app, which is a fantastic phone app that I still use all the time after 10 years of skiing this resort. I'm on the Telluride app almost daily to check in, and I'll demonstrate a few different items and ways in which you can use that to make sure that your day is fantastic. Number 2, I'm going to go ahead and give you the general locations and recommendations, because intermediate has such a broad span of, hey, I'm just breaking into these blues, as well as I can ski blues confidently. There is some variation that you should be aware of. And number 3, this is top secret. You want to know that Telluride is mislabeled. There are a handful of runs that I am confident you would not want to ski, even if you are a very skilled double blue style intermediate that's maybe verging on surpassing into that kind of expert terrain. Telluride has a select list of blues that I would stay away from. I know this from experience after touring so many of my friends and family members around this mountain. So without further ado, let's go. So Telluride app, it is 5 till 9. So none of these lifts are open. We are just about to open the resort for the day, and that is why you see these little red X's. But before we really get started, we're gonna discuss, on this app, you'll notice very comprehensive, everything you need to know to have a fantastic day. You have these live cameras down here at the bottom, including a snow camera for the Prospect POW cam. Obviously, we've had an extremely dry winter this year, so we're not getting any more powder, I don't think, for the rest of it. Now, you can see here that if you click on that groomed trails, this is fantastic, especially for those intermediates out there, because you could likely ski a blue that's groomed, but then when we start to see some bumps, that blue becomes a whole heck of a lot harder. So this is how you stay away from moguls. Now, my preference when using this app is actually to go on the trail maps. You'll see everything that's in pink. All of that is what was groomed last night. So they update this daily, and those groomers are probably a place that you at least want to get warmed up on before you get rolling for the rest of the day. Now, the next thing I'll show you is these X's will become green check marks if a lift is open. So if you're coming early season or really late season, it's pretty rare that they'll close the lifts in the late season, but you'll know exactly which lifts are open and available to you. And then finally, on those little X's, you'll notice that about 3 times a year, specifically like Christmas, President's Week, and spring break, those are the 3 times where you might get a lift line in Telluride. It's so hard to get to this town that it's very infrequent that we have enough visitors to compile a lift line. But those little circles at the base of the lift will actually give you a estimated time of lines. So I see that maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know how that happened. I see that maybe 2 or 3 times a year. It's very rare, but you can always find a lift on this resort that has 0 lift line. However, if you're trying to get from point A to point B, you might run into some lines during those 3 specific high peak weekends. Now that is it for the Telluride app. Go ahead, download that thing. It is super helpful. Not only book classes there, it'll tell you where to go for rental gear, for your lodging, for food and dining options. It's absolutely a must-have in my opinion. All right, now jumping in. If you are skiing at an intermediate style, then this is for you. We have about 37% of the overall terrain in Telluride that is designated for intermediate skiers, and that is going to be in that blue or double blue kind of range, right? As an intermediate skier, right here, the Village Express, also known as Lift 4. When you are skiing with a family specifically, Lift 4 is incredible because it is basically the primary lift that services the village core. So right at the intersection of the gondola and that beautiful village core that has all of the shopping and dining that a family could want or need for a successful ski day, bathrooms, etc. So Lift 4 is where I recommend that any intermediate skier gets their day started. Lift 4, boom, boom, boom. Now, to speak to the range of what an intermediate skier goes through, there are those easier blues, harder blues. My recommendation to get started is when you get off at the top of Lift 4 here, start by going off to the right hand side and enjoy Boomerang and Peekaboo. Now, both of these runs certainly do have one short and sustained pitch. However, there's long runouts afterwards of a flat, so you can really feel comfortable picking up a bit more speed than you normally would. And even if you're struggling with that, then maybe you should shift back into doing some of those greens or double greens. If that is the case, go back in this series. We've already created a video for beginner skiing on the Telluride Ski Resort, and that'll be in the link down below in the description. While you're down there, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. So to test out those intermediate skills, start with Peekaboo or Boomerang, and then as you start to progress, that's when I would get off at the top of Lift 4 and take this left-hand turn to enjoy things like Misty Maiden, Butterfly, or even Hermit. Now, all of those that I just named have much longer sustained pitches, and furthermore, they're a good bit steeper than what you're going to experience on the Boomerang or Peekaboo trails. And one thing that is not to be missed when you're visiting Telluride is Grano Ranch. Whether it is just you and your buddies or you're here with a family, Grano is fantastic. It is one of the most scenic slopeside restaurants that I have discovered to date, and they always have live music out on the patio, so you can sit outside or inside. It is a huge amount of space. You're almost always guaranteed to get a table, and obviously they do serve both food and drinks, as well as a great pit stop to refill your water, use the restroom, and because it's mid-run, it's a great way to kind of rest those legs if you start to get tired. Now, if you're feeling comfortable on all of the terrain that is on Lift 4, you might be ready to move on to a little bit of a bump run. If you are in that intermediate style where you're pushing to try and start learning how to ski moguls, the first place you're going to go is Humboldt Draw. Humboldt Draw is a left off of the lift and an immediate left once you start skiing to access that space, and it is very low angle with very minimal bumps. Humboldt Draw is one of those runs that they frequently groom off to reset the entire space. It is relatively short, and once you get down to the bottom, it is very flat. So similar to the Boomerang and Peekaboo, you have one shorter pitch, low angle, and then a nice flat drawn out. Nice flat to draw you back onto the groomers. Alright, so you can ski absolutely everything on Lift 4. Now it's time to head over to Lift 5. Very easy to find. Take a right at the top of this Lift 4 village bypass, and as long as you just stay over to the left, you're going to always end up right here at Lift 5, also known as the Polar Queen Express. Polar Queen is awesome for intermediates because you have a nice long drawn out flat that leads you to a steeper pitch that is sustained and then a nice flat spot below. It is a very short run, but it's really pushing on your comfort level or as far as pitch and angle goes. So for lift 5, this is almost all going to be bump runs with the exception of Polar Queen. Polar Queen is nearly always groomed, and frankly I would say that every intermediate style skier should be able to do all of lift 5 with the exception of Henry's North and Henry's South here. Those are both longer bump runs that are extremely steep, and they never groom them. I've never seen them groomed in my life, so you can count on those bumps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the year progresses. Now, if there was one run or one series of runs that I would tell any visitor they cannot miss, that would be known as the Super Loop. Locals here look forward to the day that the Super Loop opens year after year. I'm going to show you how to connect it and why it is so dang special. So when you're on that lift 4, we've gotten warmed up on some of those other kind of more mellow groomer blues. We bump over to lift 5. From the top of lift 5 or Polar Queen Express, you take that left and head down to Apex Lift, which is lift 6. Now from the top of Apex Lift, we have one of the best ski runs that I've ever experienced, and that would be known as Ski Forever. Ski Forever lives up to its name. Not only is it the longest ski run in North America, if you were to take it from the top of lift 15 all the way to the base of the gondola in the town of Telluride, but there's a fantastic view corridor. As you can see, this whole back area, which most people will never get to ski, this is known as Bear Creek. Fantastic place to get up there and take a photo with you and your family. Now, why do I think lift 6 is so special? It's very simple. You can see all the way from Colorado to the La Salle Mountain Range of Utah the entire time. When you look off to the left when skiing, you have Wilson Peak in your face. That is the peak that is on the front of Corscan and that you likely enjoyed when you stopped at Guarano Ranch. To your right, you have all of the San Sofia mountain range that falls off. The backdrop is absolutely spectacular. I cannot stress how beautiful it is coming down Ski Forever. You really can see or ski forever on this run. It is a series of head walls that are intermittent and kind of shorter pitches, followed by long flat parts, and as you take those stair steps down, it leads you back to the base of lift 4, which is where we started. So here is the Ski Forever ridgeline, and that will lead you back to either the top of the gondola. If your legs get tired, you can use that as your off ramp to just head back to the bottom, or you can head back to the base of lift 4 and hit 4, 5, 6, and down Ski Forever. You've just completed the Super Loop. Let's move on. I'm going to share with you intermediates the runs that you A, should be skiing, or B, should not be skiing, depending on where you fall within that intermediate category. So if you are more on the beginner side of an intermediate and you can ski blues or double blues fairly well, but every time you get on a black, you start to get those butterflies in your stomach and maybe aren't having the best time, well, there are 3 runs that you should stay away from. And then finally, stick around till the end, because if you are more of an advanced intermediate and you've learned how to ski bumps and you're ready to start learning how to ski trees, well, there are 2 runs that are labeled as blacks that I would take any decent intermediate skier down without expecting any problems. There's great bailout points, and I'm going to show you exactly where those 2 are before we wrap up. So because Telluride is so commonly mislabeled, there are double blue runs that absolutely should be known as blacks, and people should stay away from unless they are very comfortable in that black terrain. The first one is going to be Lookout. Let me show you why. Lookout is off of the Ski Forever run on the right hand side, and it leads you back to lift 9. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right, and as promised, here we are at the top of one of the blues that really does ski like a black. This is the kind of thing that any visitor should be aware of because some of the labeling in Telluride truly is a bit off. So check this out, the Lookout Ski Run double blue. I would stack this up against just about any black on the resort. Pretty scary, right? Now, run number 2 that is absolutely mislabeled is this Sandia or Magnolia headwall. Right here from the top of Lift 12, the Prospect Express, this is a space where you have a sheer drop off. It may be short, but it is steep, it is often icy, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen probably pretty good intermediate skiers end up sliding down this thing. It is wicked scary. Now, that doesn't mean you should stay off of Sandia or Magnolia. Just make sure that you do this little bump out on Magnolia before you dip back into Sandia. This space right here is a head wall that is known to cause issues for a lot of intermediates. And then the third and final double blue that truly skis like a black would be Woolsey's Way off of Apex Lift 6. Woolsey's Way is fantastic, especially if you are commuting, trying to get from Lift 6 over to Lift 12 or 14. Woolsey's may be labeled as a double blue, but you have an obligation to make a hard left-hand turn after a sheer, steep pitch that oftentimes does get icy and sometimes can be even crowded, especially on ski days with lots of snow, because of that commuter traffic trying to get from Lift 9 and Lift 6 over to Lift 12 and Lift 14. So if you can't ski a single black with absolute confidence, my suggestion is stay off of Woolsey's Way and ride Lift 10, 11, and then ski over on 12. All right, and one more surprise run that you should be aware of when skiing as kind of a more beginner intermediate, that would be coming back from the mountain into town. If you're staying in the town of Telluride, it's likely that you want to ski there. Of course, that's one of the coolest parts about being in this incredible little town. However, the way that most intermediates are going to get there would be on Telluride Trail. Now, Telluride Trail is not really a blue, at least on this top portion, where it's falling leaf and really anybody can get there. Where I think it should switch into more of a double blue is at this intersection, the base of Cimarron Milk Run and the Telluride Trail. All of these runs collide, and then if you do not make a critical turn, you are likely going to be a little bit uncomfortable unless you are at that next level of skiing. So from this intersection, if you were to just point it straight and keep going down, you're going to be bottlenecked into a very skinny run that does have a decent pitch. If there's other skiers on that run, that is pretty scary, and it certainly can feel more like you're skiing a double blue with obstacles versus a single blue. Now that's okay, because as long as you make sure to hit this little left-hand turn, there's that bump out as well as this right-hand bump out. You skip a lot of that bottlenecking effect and you stay on a cat track that's incredibly mellow. Look for the easiest way down signs. They're almost always in place, and make sure to stay safe out there. Now for those intermediates who are starting to push into an advanced level, you likely can do bumps. You can easily ski everything we've discussed on Lift 4 and 5, as well as maybe even dabbling into Lookout, Sandia's Headwall, or Woolsey's Way, which again are double blues that should be labeled as blacks. And you can do those bump runs with confidence. You're probably looking to learn how to ski in the trees. Now, tree skiing is oftentimes labeled as a black simply because you do have that obstacle. But there are two runs that I would put any decent intermediate skier on, and those are actually on Lift 9, which is the north side of the Telluride Ski Resort. These two runs I would recommend because they really don't have an incredibly steep pitch, and they also have fantastic bailout points that allow you to get out of those trees when your legs get tired and back on to a run that is groomed. Both of these come off of the Sea Forever ski run, so you know you're going to have a great time getting there, and that would be Log Pile and Captain Jack's. Now, Log Pile is accessed from the top of the plunge, which is at this intersection off of Sea Forever. You won't be skiing the plunge. Instead, you'll take a left-hand turn and go into these trees. These trees are low angle, and it's a relatively short run that actually connects you to a cat track. And that cat track will wrap you back over to the plunge, and it actually provides a nice out, and you can ski Falling Leaf down to Bushwhacker. Once you get on the lower Bushwhacker, you'll be confidently skiing that bottom section, which never gets much steeper than something like that lookout, or even a lot of the double blues that are off of Lift 4, such as Butterfly. Before you try Log Pile, I would recommend Captain Jack's. Again, off of Sea Forever Run, you take a right-hand turn and enter these trees. It is labeled, and it is a much shorter run, again, that ends at a cat track. If you hit that cat track, just simply take a left, and you'll end up back here on Lookout, and you can circle it back up. If you guys found value in this video, or if you're coming out to Telluride, reach out to us. We would love to give you more tips on where to ski. You can head down and tell us in the comments below whether or not you enjoyed your trip, and if you've already been to Telluride and I missed something that you think cannot be missed, tell our friends down in the comments. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button, and be looking forward to our fourth and final video of this series, which is going to be about the expert ski terrain. I absolutely can't wait, because that is what makes Telluride absolutely such a unique mountain, is the access to some of this incredible expert ski terrain. So I'll see you there, and take care.